There is a secret war being fought, not on battlefields, not with weapons or armies, but in the silent chambers of the mind. It is the unseen war between abundance and lack, between faith and fear, between those who see life as a friend and those who see it as a foe. The rich and the poor are not divided by coins or circumstance. They are divided by consciousness. The poor live under the spell of limitation. They speak the language of defeat. I can't afford it. It's too hard. Maybe someday. Each word becomes a chain around their potential. Their imagination is enslaved by appearances, and they serve the god of struggle. They have been taught that life must be earned by pain, that success comes only to the lucky, and that God withholds his blessings. But the truth is that lack is not a condition, it is a belief. The rich, on the other hand, wage their war in the same world but with a different weapon. The weapon of knowing. They know that thought is currency, that the unseen precedes the seen. They see money not as paper, but as a vibration that responds to confidence, gratitude, and expectancy. They do not work for money. Money works for them because they understand its divine law. They do not chase, they command. They do not beg, they align. This war is not about greed or gold. It is about alignment or resistance. When one lives in fear of poverty, they magnetize it. When one lives in faith of supply, they multiply it. Every time you worry about the future, you declare war against your own abundance. Every time you say, I can't, you close a door that was about to open. The world listens to your words and obeys your vibration. The rich have learned the sacred art of mental discipline. They guard their thoughts as treasure. They refuse to rehearse problems, they visualize solutions. They understand that wealth begins as an idea wrapped in conviction. They give thanks before the harvest appears. They see prosperity as their birthright, not their reward. The poor often see money as something outside of themselves, a master to be served. The rich see it as a servant to be directed. The difference is not in opportunity, but in perception, for life mirrors belief. What you hold in mind, you hold in hand. The secret war is not meant to destroy but to awaken. Poverty is not a punishment. It is an invitation to rise in awareness. When you stop seeing the rich as oppressors and start seeing them as reflections of possibility, the war ends. When envy turns to inspiration, the battlefield dissolves. The true victory is not in accumulating wealth, but in mastering vibration. The moment you bless what you desire, you attract it. The moment you bless those who have it, you join their frequency. The moment you forgive yourself for your past beliefs, you open the gate to infinite supply. So end the war within you. Refuse to think small. Refuse to worship lack. Refuse to speak limitation. Align with the divine rhythm of abundance that beats through all creation. Life is not withholding from you. It is waiting for your permission to bless you. The rich and the poor live in the same world, but one sees opportunity where the other sees obstacle. One says, how can I? The other says, I can. One sees the open door, the other stares at the lock. And yet, the key has always been within. The key of faith, the key of imagination, the key of knowing that supply is endless and that you are one with it. The secret war is over the throne of your mind. Whichever side wins there, wins everywhere. The real battle between the rich and the poor is a war of consciousness, not circumstance. It is not the size of one's bank account that determines wealth, but the size of one's awareness. There are those who move through the same world, walk the same streets, breathe the same air, yet experience entirely different realities because their minds are tuned to different frequencies. The poor believe the rich hold the power, that opportunity hides behind closed doors, that destiny is written by others. The rich, however, believe in the unseen laws of creation, in the inner command that shapes the outer world. The difference lies in perception, in how one interprets the invisible currents of life. Poverty is not merely a condition of lack, it is a state of believing that lack is real. Wealth is not just the accumulation of things. It is the awareness of abundance already existing in the invisible realm, waiting to be claimed through faith and expectancy. The poor fight the battle of survival every day, believing the world is against them, that resources are scarce, that success is a matter of luck or chance. They speak words of defeat and their words echo through the ethers, forming barriers that block the flow of supply. Every thought of fear builds a wall between them and abundance. They chase but never claim. They desire but never expect. They wait for miracles but do not prepare to receive them. The rich, on the other hand, live in a consciousness of command. They speak to life as if life listens, because it does. They expect to prosper, and so they do. They see wealth as energy, constantly moving toward those who are ready to receive it. They hold in their minds a certainty that the universe supports them, that ideas are currency, that faith is the true capital. The war is fought in the silence of thought, not in the noise of action. The rich understand that consciousness precedes form. They know that before money appears in hand, it must first exist in mind. They use their imagination as a tool of creation, not as a theater of worry. They do not allow fear to take root, because they know fear attracts the very thing it dreads. The poor allow their imagination to run wild with images of failure, scarcity, and loss, not realizing that the imagination is a workshop for reality. What is impressed upon the subconscious must one day be expressed. The rich impress abundance, gratitude, confidence. The poor impress doubt, resentment, and fear. Thus the battle rages, unseen but ever present, shaping destinies according to belief. This war of consciousness reveals itself in daily choices. When one man spends in fear, he contracts the flow. When another spends in faith, he multiplies it. The rich give freely because they know giving opens the gate of receiving. The poor hold tightly, believing they must save every drop from a dry well, not knowing that the well is infinite. The consciousness of the rich expands with generosity. The consciousness of the poor shrinks with worry. One sees circulation, the other sees depletion. One blesses his money and sends it forth, the other curses it and watches it vanish. Both are living proofs of the same law, but on opposite poles of its expression. The rich use the law knowingly. The poor use it unconsciously. The law itself does not discriminate. It simply mirrors consciousness. Circumstance is never the master, only the mirror. When one believes himself to be a victim of fate, he hands over his creative power. When one claims dominion over his mind, he alters his fate. The rich have trained their inner world to remain steadfast regardless of outer appearance. They may experience temporary loss, but they never claim it as identity. They say, "This too shall pass," because they understand that everything is transient except the consciousness behind it. The poor see loss as final, failure as proof of limitation. They live under the tyranny of appearances, forgetting that every visible thing began as invisible thought. To the rich, the outer world is clay, to the poor, it is stone. The one molds, the other endures in this secret war. The weapons are thoughts, words, emotions, and imagination. The poor often fight with dull blades of fear and complaint, not knowing they sharpen the edge of defeat with every negative word. The rich fight with the bright sword of faith, carving new paths through belief. They affirm success in the face of challenge. They speak increase in the presence of lack. They know the power of decree, that what is spoken with conviction becomes law in their world. The poor wait for conditions to change before they believe. The rich believe until conditions change. One reacts, the other creates. That is the war in its simplest form: reaction versus creation, fear versus faith. Lack versus knowing. The battlefield is silent but constant. The moment one wakes, the war begins again. Will the day be shaped by anxiety or assurance? Will the mind bow to appearances or stand in dominion? The rich rise and declare their intention. They align their thought with divine order. They give thanks in advance for success unseen. The poor rise and remember yesterday's defeats. They repeat the stories of struggle, replaying the same vibration. The universe, impartial and exact, returns to each the fruit of his expectation. It cannot do otherwise, for it is bound by the law of belief. As one believes, so shall it be done unto him. This is not philosophy but spiritual mathematics. The real war is invisible, but its effects are tangible. Entire generations have inherited patterns of thought that keep them chained to limitation. They are taught that to be spiritual means to suffer, that to desire is wrong, that to prosper is selfish. These beliefs create invisible prisons, where people pray for freedom but fear what it requires. The rich have learned that prosperity is not greed, but harmony with divine supply. They do not apologize for abundance, for they see it as expression of the infinite. They know that wealth in the right hands becomes a tool of service, not dominance. The poor see wealth as separation, the rich see it as connection. One divides, the other unites. Thus the war deepens or dissolves depending on the mind that holds it. Those who understand consciousness know that everything external is an effect. Money, opportunity, health, success. These are shadows cast by inner belief. The rich tend to their inner world as one tends a sacred garden. They plant thoughts of gratitude, faith, and confidence, watering them daily with vision and expectation. The poor neglect the garden and then blame the weeds. They allow doubt to grow wild, and then wonder why their harvest is meager. The law is the same for both, but the use of it differs. Consciousness is the soil, thought is the seed. The one who plants wisely reaps abundance. The one who sows fear reaps delay. There is no true poverty except poverty of awareness. The war will cease for any individual the moment they awaken to the truth, that they are not victims of circumstance but creators of it. The rich are not chosen by fortune. They are chosen by their own faith. They have learned to see with the inner eye, to call forth things that are not yet seen, to hold fast to invisible substance until it becomes visible form. They live by inner law while the poor live by outer sight. The distance between them is not measured in miles or years, but in thought. The rich have mastered the inner realm, the poor are still battling the illusions of the outer. This war will continue for every soul until they learn that consciousness, not circumstance, decides their fate. Wealth and poverty are both vibrations shaped by thought, words, and belief. Every life, every destiny, is governed not by chance but by the invisible frequency of one's inner state. The outer world simply mirrors the inner conviction. The universe does not respond to need, it responds to vibration. When a man thinks thoughts of fear, lack, and struggle, he tunes himself to a frequency where such conditions exist. When another thinks thoughts of abundance, gratitude, and expectancy, he aligns with a frequency where wealth flows naturally. These are not mere ideas, they are laws. Everything in the universe moves by vibration, and money is no exception. It is energy, alive, responsive, and obedient to the dominant tone of belief that radiates from the human mind. The poor speak the language of limitation. They say, "I can't afford it." And the universe replies, "Very well." They say, "There's never enough." And life echoes back, "So it shall be." They live in constant contradiction to the law of abundance by affirming scarcity with every word. Their conversations are filled with complaints, their imagination flooded with worry, their emotions chained to fear. These vibrations form walls that repel prosperity. They unknowingly command lack through repetition, never realizing that every thought is a decree. Words are not empty sounds, they are creative forces that set energy into motion. To say, "I can't," is to instruct the universe to close doors that were waiting to open. To say, "I have," even before it appears, is to summon the unseen into form. The rich, however, speak a different language. They know that words create worlds. They are careful with what they declare, for they understand that speech impregnated with faith produces manifestation. They bless what they have, and it multiplies. They bless what they desire, and it approaches. Their words carry authority, because they are spoken from a consciousness of certainty, not desperation. They speak increase where others see decrease. They give thanks before evidence, and that gratitude becomes the bridge between the invisible and the visible. Their vibration is steady, calm, and confident, for they have mastered the art of inner alignment. They do not chase money, they harmonize with it. They do not beg, they command by knowing their oneness with divine supply. Thought is the seed of every reality. A thought held long enough takes root in the subconscious, which then produces matching experiences in the outer world. The rich fill their subconscious with images of success, freedom, and expansion. They visualize clearly, feel deeply, and expect naturally. Their inner movie is one of triumph, and the outer world obediently reflects it. The poor replay scenes of failure, fear, and frustration, not realizing that these emotional rehearsals attract similar experiences. The subconscious cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. It accepts what is impressed upon it. If the movie in the mind is one of defeat, the stage of life will perform accordingly. The vibration of wealth begins in the imagination long before it appears in the account. Belief is the architect of vibration. To believe in abundance is to open the gates of flow. To believe in lack is to seal them shut. The poor often believe that wealth is reserved for others, that it requires privilege, luck, or inheritance. This belief alone keeps them bound, for the law of consciousness cannot deliver to one what he does not believe he deserves. The rich believe in their worthiness. They believe in the law of circulation, that giving and receiving are one motion. They believe that ideas attract opportunity, and opportunity attracts money. They believe that life supports those who align with its rhythm. Belief is the invisible magnet drawing circumstances that match its nature. Whatever one believes deeply enough must materialize, for belief is vibration made steady. Emotion fuels vibration. Fear lowers frequency, faith raises it, gratitude amplifies it. The rich cultivate gratitude as a daily practice, not as a moral act, but as a magnetic one. Gratitude signals to the universe that one is ready for more. It affirms sufficiency in the present moment, creating the vibration of abundance that draws new blessings. The poor dwell in resentment, often cursing their circumstances and envying the success of others. But resentment is a low vibration that blocks flow. To resent wealth is to repel it. To bless it is to attract it. The heart that rejoices in another's prosperity tunes itself to the same channel. The universe, hearing the song of appreciation, adds harmony to the one who sings it. Money is a servant, not a master. It moves toward those who respect it as energy and moves away from those who fear or despise it. The poor fear losing it and thus lose it. They hoard, they worry, they withhold, creating stagnation in the current of prosperity. The rich let money move. They circulate it with joy, understanding that every expenditure sends a signal of faith in the endless supply. They spend with intention, not anxiety. Their vibration around money is clean, free of guilt or tension. The poor feel unworthy to receive, but the rich expect to receive, because they see themselves as part of the infinite source. The difference in vibration becomes the difference in experience. Words are spiritual instruments. The rich use them to compose harmony. The poor use them unconsciously to create discord. When one says, "Money flows to me easily and freely," it is not mere affirmation. It is attunement. Each repetition strengthens the belief, and belief strengthens vibration. The poor often affirm the opposite without realizing it. They say, "Money goes out faster than it comes in," and their life obeys the script. They say, "Nothing ever works for me," and so nothing does. The universe is literal, not emotional. It mirrors the vibration, not the wish. Desire alone is weak, belief is power. Words become alive when charged with conviction. For conviction is vibration concentrated. Everything in life is a reflection of inner tone. Relationships, health, opportunity, and wealth all respond to the frequency of thought and speech. A man of wealth has trained his mind to hold steady in vision, even when appearances contradict it. He knows that vibration is stronger than circumstance. He speaks what he desires until it becomes so. The poor allow appearances to dictate vibration. They see lack and affirm it with worry, reinforcing what they fear. The difference is not intelligence or labor but inner discipline. The rich guard their vibration as treasure. The poor let every fear enter unchallenged. One builds an atmosphere of expectancy, the other lives in a fog of doubt. The vibration of wealth has a rhythm. Calm, confident, joyful, giving, and expectant. The vibration of poverty is restless, doubtful, anxious, withholding, and afraid. To rise from one to the other, one must shift inner state, not outer effort. It is not about how much one works, but how one thinks while working. It is not about what one earns, but what one expects to earn. The law responds to consciousness, not effort. Many toil endlessly under a vibration of fear and wonder why success eludes them. But work without belief is like planting without seed. The rich plant thought, seeds of increase before any action. They let the vibration lead, and action follows naturally. Even silence carries vibration. The unspoken feelings of doubt, resentment, and worry vibrate as loudly as words. The poor often hold these silent emotions within, unaware that they radiate through their aura, attracting conditions of struggle. The rich maintain inner peace, knowing that harmony itself is magnetic. Peace is the highest wealth, for it draws all else in its wake. The calm mind becomes a magnet for solutions, opportunities, and inspired ideas. The turbulent mind repels them. Every emotion, every word, every thought is a note in the symphony of vibration that writes one's financial destiny. To change vibration is to change everything. The rich have learned to rise above appearances and hold fast to invisible truth, that abundance is everywhere, waiting for recognition. They do not see themselves as striving for wealth, but as aligning with it. They speak words of power, think thoughts of certainty, and believe in divine order. Their vibration says, "I am supplied," and supply answers. The poor must learn this same truth, that nothing external can rescue them until they rescue their vibration. When one shifts from fear to faith, from lack to gratitude, from doubt to expectancy, the invisible laws rearrange their course, and the vibration of wealth begins to manifest in visible form. The war ends when one aligns with divine abundance, instead of resisting it through fear and lack. Every soul is born into an infinite universe, overflowing with supply, yet most live as beggars at the banquet of life. They see others prosper and assume the world is unfair, not realizing that abundance has no favorites, it responds only to alignment. Divine abundance is not a reward for good behavior, it is a law as constant as gravity, and it flows to those who are in harmony with it. Fear and lack are the great resistors, the forces that dam the river of prosperity. The moment a person begins to believe that they are separate from supply, they cut off their own inheritance. To align is to remember that you are one with the source that created gold, opportunity, and wealth itself. Life was never designed to be a struggle. Struggle is simply resistance made visible. Fear whispers lies that feel true. It says, "There is not enough," and the mind believes it. It says, "You must work harder to deserve more," and the body exhausts itself chasing what could come effortlessly through alignment. Fear is subtle, it disguises itself as caution, as realism, as humility. But every fearful thought lowers the vibration of the soul and closes the channels of supply. Divine abundance does not move through worry. It moves through faith. Lack consciousness prays with doubt, thanks with hesitation, and acts with anxiety. Abundance consciousness thanks before receiving, trusts before seeing, and acts with confidence that the outcome is secure. Fear creates tension in the invisible, while faith creates flow. The two cannot exist in the same space, for where fear dwells, abundance cannot stay. To align with divine abundance, one must change the inner dialogue that governs every choice. The poor speak as though life is against them. They say, "It's hard to get ahead." And so it becomes hard. They say, "I'll never catch up," and the universe confirms their decree. Every word becomes a command to unseen forces. The rich speak differently. They say, "Everything I need is already mine," and that confidence opens unseen doors. They live as though supply is constant, and therefore it is. Alignment begins with words because words are frequency in motion. To align with abundance is to speak from it, not about it. Every declaration of faith rewires the vibration, and every declaration of fear strengthens resistance. The mind is the battlefield of alignment. It is there that the war between abundance and lack is fought daily. The poor focus on appearances. They see bills, debts, and delays and conclude that scarcity is real. But appearances are shadows of thought, not reality. The rich focus on the unseen, knowing that substance precedes form. They understand that delay is not denial, that every seed takes time to sprout, and that worry only uproots what faith has planted. The poor check their pockets, the rich check their vibration. To align with abundance, one must train the mind to see beyond appearances, to hold vision when evidence is missing, to know that supply flows invisibly before it becomes visible. The unseen is more powerful than the seen because it is cause. Not effect. Lack is not a condition. It is a vibration of separation. When a person believes they are cut off from good, they vibrate at the frequency of need, and the universe mirrors that back. Alignment requires oneness. The recognition that abundance is not something to get but something to reveal. Divine supply flows through channels, and you are one of them. If you see yourself as disconnected from the source, you block the flow. When you realize you are the vessel, not the seeker, abundance begins to move naturally. Fear says, "What if I fail?" Alignment says, "What if I flow?" Fear tightens the heart and interrupts intuition. Faith relaxes it and allows inspiration to guide. Every inspired action comes from alignment, never from anxiety. Gratitude is the bridge between fear and faith. The poor often wait to be grateful until something changes. The rich are grateful because they know gratitude itself changes everything. Gratitude lifts the vibration from resistance to acceptance. It is the act of saying yes to life, even before the evidence appears. When you are grateful, you harmonize with the frequency of increase. Divine abundance recognizes gratitude as a signal of readiness. To complain is to affirm lack, to give thanks is to affirm flow. The poor complain of what they lack. The rich bless what they have. One amplifies absence, the other multiplies presence. Gratitude is the language of alignment. The way one tunes the heart to receive forgiveness is another doorway to alignment. Fear and lack are often rooted in old beliefs, memories of failure, guilt, shame, or betrayal. These create energetic blocks that repel good. The poor replay their past and wonder why the future repeats it. The rich release the past, knowing that resentment ties them to the very vibration they wish to escape. Forgiveness dissolves resistance by cleansing the inner field. It frees energy trapped in judgment and redirects it toward creation. You cannot attract new blessings while clinging to old wounds. To forgive is to return to flow, to say to the universe, I am ready to move forward. Alignment cannot coexist with bitterness, for divine abundance moves only in freedom. Faith is the great harmonizer. It is the knowing that even when appearances say otherwise, divine order is working invisibly for your good. Faith is not wishful thinking, it is vibrational certainty. It declares abundance even when the wallet is thin, because it knows that supply is spiritual, not material. The poor see money as their source. The rich see divine intelligence as their source. When one believes in divine abundance, the need to control disappears. There is no worry about how or when, only quiet confidence that it will come in perfect time. This surrender is not weakness, it is power. It aligns the individual with universal flow, removing the friction of doubt and allowing blessings to arrive through unexpected channels. Every act of fear is resistance. To hoard, to envy, to compare, to doubt, these are forms of energetic contraction. When one contracts, life contracts around them. To align with abundance is to expand, to think generously, to give freely, to bless continuously. The rich give not because they have much but because they understand giving sustains flow. The poor withhold out of fear and experience stagnation. The universe is a mirror. Whatever you withhold from others, you withhold from yourself. The open hand is a symbol of alignment. The clenched fist is a symbol of resistance. To align is to live in circulation, to allow energy to move freely through you without fear of depletion. Divine abundance is intelligent. It knows where to go, how to multiply, and when to arrive. But it cannot enter a consciousness clouded by fear. Fear is noise, abundance is music. To align is to quiet the noise and listen to the melody of faith. When one is still within, guidance comes easily. Ideas flow, doors open, people appear. Alignment makes effort effortless, for it replaces struggle with inspired direction. Those who live in alignment do not chase opportunity. It finds them. They do not fight for success, they flow with it. They do not see wealth as chance but as law fulfilled. The poor push, the rich attract. The difference lies not in labor, but in vibration. The war ends when a soul stops struggling against its own good. Lack does not come from the world. It comes from inner resistance. The rich have learned to surrender to abundance, to let life bless them through trust and openness. The poor fight life with fear, believing they must earn what has already been given. To align is to rest in the truth that supply is infinite, and you are included in it. You do not have to fight for abundance. You must become one with it. When the mind stops doubting, the heart stops worrying, and the words stop contradicting faith, divine abundance rushes in. Fear and lack dissolve like mist before the morning sun, and what remains is the eternal flow that was always waiting to be allowed.